All right, this is Dan Meehan for Fight News Australia, and today we have Paul Logar, who's preparing for another Eternal Flyweight title tilt in a rematch with Steve Erceg at Eternal 62 on October 30th. Paul, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. Thanks for stopping by. Now, I always have to ask this when I interview someone for the first time, but can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you found your way to MMA?
I originally was obviously a footy player, like every Aussie kid. Um, and yeah, found my way over to MMA after a couple of injuries and sort of stumbled along a jits gym and just entered grappling tournaments. And then before I knew it, I was fighting.
There you go, and yeah, like a lot of fighters on the local scene, you work your training around a day job. Can you tell us a little bit about your job and how you balance work with the rigors of fighting?
Yeah, I'm a full-time concreter and I've always done that ever since I started fighting. Before I started fighting, um, I was always working full time, so it's a bit of a juggle. I have to sort of cram everything in the afternoons when it comes to training, which can be a struggle. But lately, I've become a sort of, for this fight anyway, I started working as a casual, so it's been a lot better being able to fit in morning trainings and splitting it all up with my night times as well.
Oh, that's good. And yeah, concreting can be a pretty physical job. Do you ever find that sort of takes away from your training loads, or are you a pretty energetic guy?
Uh, I'm very energetic. If I sit too still for too long, I get a little bit crazy. So
Right. Do you have any plans to go full time in MMA, or do you feel like you'll always have that sort of balance of a day job as well?
I think I'm gonna have to balance with a day job. I can't, like I said, I can't sit too still. So I find myself if I have days off, I'm just looking at the clock, getting ready for training, and by the time training comes around, I'm too tired for training, even though I've been sitting around all day.
Absolutely, just sort of numbs the brain a little bit, doesn't it, when you haven't got much to do during the day?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Now, this is third time lucky for us, as we've discussed before. We've booked interviews twice before, only for your fights to be cancelled due to injury. So, how frustrating is it during the COVID era to have fights drop off like that?
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really shit spot to be in. You're sort of training, and then before you know it, you go through a full camp, and then all of a sudden COVID gets in the way, and your camp's been pretty much a waste of time, really, because the level we're fighting on, the camps is getting harder and harder. So having COVID there just always in the background makes it difficult.
Yeah, and at least one of those cancellations was due to injury. Now, you probably don't want to talk too much about the injuries themselves, but are you on top of all of that now?
Yeah, the injury's been healed. It was a bit of a freak accident. I got hit in the eye, and the doctors pretty much told me if I fought those 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, I could have lost my vision. So we decided against it.
Right, there you go. And how's the body held up in training camp so far?
Um, this camp's been the best so far, really. Probably so many lead ups to it. So I've actually been able to keep pretty good care of my body, especially working now with movement and performance therapies with Jason. He's stayed on top of it. So it's the first time I've ever had someone actually like telling me what to do, going weekly, sometimes fortnightly physios. So it's been quite good.
Brilliant. And what's the cut to flyweight like for you?
The older I get, the harder it gets, I guess. Uh, the last couple have been big cuts. Also, the big breaks between fights, obviously because of COVID, injuries, stuff like that. So yeah, the cuts are getting bigger and bigger, but I seem to still get down there, which is the main thing.
Yeah, and looking down your record, I can see early in your career at least you sort of dabbled at bantamweight a little bit. Is flyweight home for you, or do you feel like you might step up to bantamweight at some point?
Lately, we've been talking about bantamweight a fair bit, but as long as I've got the fight dietitian in my corner, I guess I can keep getting down to flyweight. So for now, flyweight's my home, but we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely, and well played sliding the plug in there. I'm sure he'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
Of course, the opponent this time is eternal flyweight champion Steve Erceg, who's obviously a familiar foe, having fought at Eternal 47 just over 2 years ago. Now, while it was obviously a brief affair last time around, and the result didn't go your way, it was the fight itself was seemingly going well until you got caught. So, how do you reflect on it looking back?
That fight, yeah, pretty much what you said. It was going all to plan. Maybe I was closing my eyes a little bit and throwing and hoping, but yeah, it was everything was going good. I would have liked to get into the second round, maybe settle down a little bit, get rid of those nerves, but it only went for about 2 minutes before he clipped me. So I don't read into it too much. I just think I got caught, and come time to fight him again, we'll find out who really is the better fighter.
Yeah, and either type to watch tape, watch your fights back, watch Steve's fights, or are you more sort of instinctive than that?
I like to fight in the moment, but my coaches they look over tape, see what he does well, what he doesn't well. When I watch fights, I more watch them as a fan rather than try and study things. You know, it's probably I don't know. I enjoy fighting, and I enjoy watching fighting as a fan, not so much breaking things down.
Yeah. And obviously, since you last fought Steve, you guys have both reeled off a couple of wins since. So, how do you feel you guys actually match up this time around?
I think it's going to be a lot more competitive. I'm coming off 2 wins. He's obviously hasn't been beaten in a while, and he's beaten people quite convincingly. So, as a matchup, I think it'll be exciting, and I don't think it'll go the 5 rounds, but I'm planning on trying to put him away as quick as possible. But if it does go the 5 rounds, I look forward to it. You know, every fighter dreams of fighting these five rounders.
Yep. And Steve was in an absolute war last time around against Cody Haddon. What did you think of that fight? And was there anything that you saw in that one that maybe you can take into this fight with Steve?
I thought it was a really good fight, and I actually gave him big props for taking the fight. He had no reason to take it. You know, Cody's an up and comer, and he's weight class up. So, but watching that fight, I got out of that fight is Cody's going to be a superstar one day. So, and Stephen, he fought very well. He dug in deep to pull it out. So, it probably served him well to fight and go the distance with Haddon coming into this fight. So, it's probably good preparation for him.
Yeah. And when are you heading over to Perth?
Uh, as far as I know, Eternal have told me I'm heading over on fight week, which I'm hoping all works out with travel restrictions and nothing gets in the way.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Actually, WA is one of the obviously the COVID-free Australian states. So, do you have to jump through any hoops that you know of in terms of COVID protocols when it comes to travelling?
Um, no, I haven't really looked into it. Well, I've looked into it a little bit, but so far as it stands, I don't. I have to apply for exemption to fly to Perth, but Cam seems to be quite confident that by the time the fight comes around, we'll be able to go around there. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, at this point, you know, you've fought a relative who's who of Australian MMA. So, what are your goals in MMA overall? Like, where do you want to go with it?
I want to go as far as I can, but obviously I enjoy fighting. Like the minute I don't enjoy fighting is the minute I'll give it away. Like I don't really care how good I get or where I get. The minute I don't enjoy it, I don't really want to do it anymore because the time we put in to the actual fight game, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of stress on the body and mind. So the minute I do not enjoy it is probably the time that I'll throw it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, before I let you go, do you have any sponsors or anyone you'd like to shout out? I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out obviously the fight dietitian, as I said, who probably does everyone in Oz MMA in the world. Trainaid, 110 Management, Dean, he's been looking after me lately, which has been a help, and Jason from Movement and Performance Therapies. He's done a great deal with me preventing injuries and also doing my strength and conditioning, and obviously my head coach, Marcus Collins from SASM MMA.
Perfect. Well, Paul, thank you so much for stopping by, and all the best at Eternal 62.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.